If you've been following the news, you know that countries across the globe are starting to draw a hard line in the sand when it comes to kids and social media. Today, we're looking at Turkey, which has just taken a massive leap by officially moving to ban social media for children under the age of 15. This isn't just a suggestion or a strongly worded guideline. It is a sweeping piece of legislation that could fundamentally change how millions of young people experience the Internet. Now, before we dive into the nuts and bolts of this new law, I want to take a quick second to ask you to join our community here. If you find these deep dives into digital policy and tech news helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us keep the lights on and continue bringing you these stories as they break. So, what exactly is happening in Turkey? The Turkish Parliament recently approved a landmark digital safety package that targets social media platforms with a clear mandate. You cannot allow children under 15 to create accounts. While we've seen similar moves in countries like Australia and France, Turkey's approach is particularly aggressive. It establishes a two-tiered system. For anyone under 15, there is an absolute ban. For those between 15 and 18, social media won't be banned, but it will look very different. Platforms will be required to offer differentiated services, essentially a kids mode for teenagers that includes mandatory parental controls, strict content filters, and a ban on targeted advertising. Imagine a 15-year-old logging into a version of Instagram or TikTok where they can't see certain types of viral challenges and where their parents can see exactly how much time they've spent scrolling. That's the reality Turkey is building. To make this work, the government is introducing a mandatory identity verification system linked to their e-government portal. This means that to even open an app, you might have to prove who you are and how old you are using official government data. The reasoning for this, according to Turkish officials like the Minister of Family and Social Services, Mahinur Guktaş, is to protect children from digital cesspools. They point to rising rates of cyberbullying, online exploitation, and the psychological impact of algorithms that often push younger users toward extreme or harmful content. Just recently, a tragic school shooting in southern Turkey involving a 14-year-old boy fueled the national debate, with many pointing to the influence of unregulated digital spaces as a contributing factor. However, as with any ban this big, there is a lot of pushback. Critics and privacy advocates are raising some very valid questions. First, there's the privacy issue. If you have to link your social media account to a government ID, you're essentially ending anonymity on the Internet for everyone, not just the kids. Then there's the VPN problem. Let's be honest, kids are tech-savvy. If they want to get on TikTok, they'll find a way to make the app think they're in London instead of Ankara. Experts estimate these bans might only catch about 10% of the target audience, while the rest just migrate to even less regulated corners of the web, where the government has zero oversight. Another objection comes from the opposition party in Turkey, which argues that we shouldn't be protecting children with bans, but with rights-based policies and better digital literacy education. They argue that social media is the modern public square, and by cutting kids off entirely, you're essentially removing them from the conversation of the 21st century. From a technical perspective, the burden on tech companies is going to be massive. Platforms with more than 10 million daily users in Turkey, think Meta, Google, and TikTok, will have only 6 months to comply. If they don't, the penalties are stiff. We're talking about massive fines, followed by advertising bans, and if they still refuse to comply, the government can throttle their bandwidth. This means the government could slow down the platform's speed up to 90%, making it practically unusable for everyone in the country. It's a high-stakes game of chicken between a national government and big tech. Turkey is clearly trying to reclaim control over the digital lives of its citizens, but whether this will actually make children safer or just create a more restricted, monitored internet for everyone remains to be seen. As we watch this rollout over the next year, it's worth asking ourselves, is 15 the right age? Is a total ban the only solution, or are we just failing to teach the next generation how to navigate the digital world safely? It's a complex issue with no easy answers, but one thing is for sure, the era of the unregulated internet for children is rapidly coming to an end. Thank you so much for watching. If you have thoughts on whether age limits actually work, I'd love to hear them in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates on how tech and law are colliding around the world. I'll see you in the next one.